Made in China. Maybe more often now, made in Mexico. Mexico is famous for its interesting culture, tacos, spicy food, and something else. In addition, Mayan and Aztec pyramids and, of course, a sombrero. No one will deny it. We can look for Mexico on the map between the USA and Central America. Mexico is famous primarily for its beautiful beaches, which beautifully create the coast of the Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico ranks high in purchasing power, placing it near the top 10 largest global economies. Thanks to the NAFTA, Mexico experienced significant growth in manufacturing. Nevertheless, despite this progress, per capita income remains about 1/3 lower than in the United States. NAFTA is North American Free Trade Agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, creating a North American Free Trade Area. The NAFTA treaty was signed in 1992 and entered into force on January 1, 1994. Interesting fact, Mexico has been a leader in strawberry exports for many years. Due to the increase in strawberry exports from Mexico, Florida gardeners have asked the United States government to limit imports of Mexican fresh fruit. According to them, fruits from this direction the American market is flooding in, as the harvest begins in the southern US, and to make matters worse, they are very competitively priced. This reduces the profitability of running plantations in Florida. Mexico exploits its wealth of mineral resources too, such as petroleum, natural gas, iron ore, copper, and silver. In addition, Mexico's location between two oceans, the Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico, influences the diversity of fish species. Agriculture faces challenges related to climate and terrain, but artificial irrigation supports production, especially of corn, wheat, and citrus fruits. Mexico is also a leading producer of vegetables, including tomatoes and chili, and has developed cattle breeding. The industry includes petrochemicals, fertilizer production, synthetic fibers, automotive, cement, food, and clothing, which gives Mexico a stable economic base. But it's not that colorful. Unfortunately, high levels of inequality, corruption, and crime, including cartels, pose challenges for Mexico. The country was hit hard by the pandemic, resulting in a drastic 18% year-on-year decline in GDP in the second quarter of 2020. Even with some improvement thereafter, GDP in the first quarter of 2021 was still at 2016 levels. International Monetary Fund estimates from November 2020 suggest that the pandemic resulted in 12 million people losing their jobs, a significant portion of whom worked illegally. One of the factors stabilizing the situation is the floating exchange rate, which, despite a significant decline at the beginning of the pandemic, is gradually regaining strength in the following months. Now, the question: what do you associate most with China? I think everyone agrees, China is considered the largest exporter of goods in the world. Maybe not always the best quality, but still, almost everything you have is Chinese. Speaking, of course, about less valuable things, although, for example, smartphones from China are also common. Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, whatever you want. China accounts for as much as 10% of all exports in the world. They're a rich country where amazing construction projects are carried out. However, things are not going well between the US and China, which is why they're focusing more on their southern neighbor in which they want to invest. The USA sees benefits in this. Due to the ongoing trade war between the US and China, one of its elements is the imposition by the United States of punitive tariffs on imports from China, ranging from 7 to 25%, worth over $350 billion. Cars also influence the decision to change the importer in the USA. Car companies are already operating in Mexico, such as BMW, Ford, GM, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Mazda, Nissan, Stellantis, Toyota, Volkswagen, constantly investing there in the construction of electric cars. US law requires 75% North American component input, prompting Chinese suppliers to consider manufacturing in Mexico. Additionally, electric cars manufactured in North America can benefit from American subsidies. Nearshoring to Mexico shortens transportation times and lowers labor costs compared to China. In the first 7 months of 2023, goods imports from China to the United States reached an impressive $239.06 billion. However, imports from Mexico were equally important, reaching $274.95 billion during the same period. Notably, in July, China accounted for 14.6% of total US imports, while Mexico accounted for 15%. Interestingly, the southern neighbor of the United States, Mexico, seems to be an even more important export market for them than China. This clearly shows that Mexico plays an important role in American foreign trade and has become a key economic partner for the United States. The US is the main investor in Mexico, placing more than $15 billion in direct investments last year alone, accounting for almost half of the total $36 billion Mexico raised in 2022. More than 1/3 of this sum was invested in the processing industry. American retail giant Walmart is one of the main investors, planning to spend $1.5 billion on the expansion of existing and new ventures by the end of 2023. As previously mentioned, Mexico has access to 2 oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic, which makes it a convenient place for maritime transport. Ports such as Veracruz and Manzanillo play a key role in maritime trade. Due to its favorable location, Mexico is also an attractive partner for investors wanting to use global supply chains. Companies already often choose Mexico as a manufacturing location due to access to US markets. But the problem is mountainous areas, which are not uncommon in Mexico. It would be beneficial to invest money in road security that'll facilitate the transport of goods. But the country itself is characterized by a great variety of landscapes. We can find here from beautiful mountains and vast deserts to wild jungles. It all sounds like a combination of the Alps, the Sahara, and the Amazon. This speaks well for the tourist phenomenon of this country, doesn't it? According to sources from November 2022, Mexico ranks second on the list of the most visited countries, with 36 million tourists in 2019 to 2021. Although the number of travelers coming to the country during the pandemic decreased, Mexico remained in second place in the ranking. For comparison, France is in first place in the same ranking. In 2019 to 2021 alone, 54 million tourists visited the country. This is no surprise. In France, practically everyone will find something for themselves. And in third place, Spain. It remained in third place in the ranking. The numbers speak for themselves. In 2019, Spain was visited by 83 million tourists, while in 2020 to 2021, only 31.7 million. Therefore, we can safely say that Mexico is a boldly visited country, which has a positive impact on the economy. Mexico must have a place to create various goods. Factory? Maybe, but we focus more on maquiladoras. What is that? Maquiladoras are a type of factory in Mexico that benefits from a free trade zone, especially in the context of NAFTA. They import raw materials, process them, and then export finished products. They were created using cheap labor, offering terrible working conditions, which helps reduce production costs. In short, a factory that is more profitable but is cruel. Mexico is characterized by the fact that it's ready to implement various projects in its country, already starting to surpass China, as shown by trade statistics in 2023. The replacement of China by Mexico as a partner for the United States is difficult to predict. Both countries have their different characteristics and advantages, and the use of the market is changing. We should not go to extremes. China is considered indestructible, but Mexico is becoming more and more involved in working with the US, and the US sees it. Feel free to join the discussion in the comments, leave a like and subscribe, and check out other videos.